Hey guys, it's Joel, Cryptocurrency Education, and today we got a really special guest, Yasser Gomes. He's basically here to give you guys another aspect of what's going on in the crypto market. For example, what is actually happening with Bitcoin, with the altcoins. Are we going to keep going down? Are we going to go up? And he's going to give us an analysis more technical than the fundamentals that I normally give you, so you guys can see if they're matching or not. All right, Yasser, how's it going? Nice to see you.
Hey Jay, how you doing, bro?
Can you give us like a really short little synopsis of your venture into crypto, or where you were doing before crypto and how you got into it? And then kind of, let me know a little bit about yourself.
So just a short brief on myself, really. I started an investments company in 2009. I was a conventional stock trader, had been since 2009, working my way up. Obviously paid all the school fees, as most of us do. Beginning of 2016, I decided to make the switch from conventional stocks back into cryptocurrencies rather. Got into some mining, and that just opened up the whole gateway for me, and that's how I got into crypto, really. So I've been in it now for about 2 years. I don't necessarily trade crypto across the board, but I do analyze charts on a daily basis.
Right on. Okay, awesome. So today, basically, guys, like I said, you've been hearing a lot of the fundamentals of what's going on in the market and all the positive things that are, kind of happening with all this negative pressure coming down, and we're moving down, but all this positive. It feels like a spring, personally, like that whole pressure down, that quick movement down, a little bit of a recovery. I feel like we're going to come down and we're going to shoot up. But that's what I think is going to happen. Let's hear from a technical analysis side from Yasser. And you know what else? He's going to share his screen, so he's actually going to show you what he's talking about. And I'll ask questions for you guys so you can, have a little more clarity in what's going on.
Right. Okay,
right.
Let me just share my screen.
Go ahead.
In a second.
No problem.
There we go.
Perfect.
Can you guys see that?
Yep, see it perfectly.
Okay, do you see me as well, or do you just see the screen?
We see you in the corner of the screen, even if you can't see us. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so let's pull this chart. Let me just try and, there we go. Okay. So here we're looking at a daily time frame on BTC USDT. Let me actually change that up just to USD, just to make things a little easier for you guys. Let's use that one. That, and let's refresh. There we go. So essentially what we do in Fibonacci is we look for the previous highs, which in this case is up here, and we link it down to the bottom over here to try and predict what the next high is going to be on this end over here. So just as an example, before taking the current market movement, I just want to show you how this works so you have an idea of what we're looking at. So at this point here, we see that at exactly these levels, you'll see 23.6% was touched. It came back down. Same thing at 38, kind of hovered over there and consolidated, pushed through even the 50% mark until it found its resistance up at the 61.8 level. Now, 61.8 is a really important level on Fibonacci. And between here and 78.6, this is known as the sharp retracement zone, meaning there's more than likely going to be a reversal in the market. Now, the first part of Fibonacci is our 38.2 level. If there isn't rejection here, we may find rejection in the 50%, but this is generally known as the weak retracement zone. More than likely looking at a drop back down.
Right.
So in this case now, let's just move this over to where we are at the moment. So let's go down to here, all the way up to here. Right.
Yeah.
You can see clearly. Okay. Sorry. You can see clearly that on our last run to the 8.5 level, which was our previous high on the daily chart, we came all the way back down, and as I mentioned earlier, we touched that really, really important 78.6 level, and that's why we're finding some sort of support at the zone.
Right.
Now, if we bottom out at that point over there, and we pull our chart from this point here, our high, to our current low, to try and predict what our next high is going to be over here, we look at this angle. We go from top to bottom, from left to right, always in Fib. And because the market has such a bearish move over here, we wouldn't expect a bounce into the 38 zone at all. We would have expected it at the 23.6, which is exactly what's been happening. So you can see that getting rejected the entire time. Now, if we move away from the daily and we move into the hourly, or the 4 hour rather, let me just refresh that. Give me a sec. Just going to delete the background. Sorry. Okay. So if we take the same thing, go on to the 4 hour chart, and we pull our last high to our last low, have a look at this. You can see that right in the zone over here, we just touched that 61.8 level. Now, on this 4 hour chart, we can see a perfect cup and handle formation. So one and this little cup over here, which failed. Today, I even messaged Joel and I said to him that there might be a potential breakout should we get past the 6.5. Had we done that, we would have seen BTC shoot right up to the 78.6 level and get rejected at the sharp retracement zone. That didn't happen, it failed. So for me right now, BTC is looking pretty weak. And I would look at probably getting out of the market if you aren't already, and not getting in anytime soon. Where it's going in terms of the next move, we can try and figure that out together. So let's go from the last low to the last high.
Yeah.
So at this point over here, you can see right here. Okay.
Yeah.
So we came into the 38.2. We found some support, and that's why we retracted on this last candle. Same thing happened over here on the 50% zone, which is known, as I mentioned earlier, as the weak retracement zone, but we found a little bounce off there. And essentially, this 23.6 is the maximum target zone. So if we don't go past this, more than likely going to come back down. So our target on this chart is effectively at the bottom down here. So we're looking for another 6,000 to 5,800 drop. It probably won't happen, in a vertical candle. It'll probably happen in stages. So where's BTC going? For me, I see 6,000 to about 5,800 next level.
Okay.
And that's that for BTC. If you want me to pull up another chart just so I can compare a different coin, let's take a look at LTC USD.
Yeah, you were showing me some Litecoin stuff the other day, and it was kind of wow. A lot of people mouth would have dropped if I told them this was going to happen.
Okay, let's look at the daily chart.
Yeah, it's been all downhill since its all-time high.
So if you look at LTC and BTC, actually a lot of the coins charts are almost identical to that of BTC. LTC follows BTC, of course, as everyone knows, the closest. So in this case, you can actually see it's almost identical to what I just pulled up now. So let's go last high, the other way around, sorry. Apologies. So from this point here to this point here. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. So at this point here, you can see that we broke through the 161.80. 161.80 is literally the golden rule in Fibonacci. Now, for me, I think, and I still believe that LTC had bottomed out. If it hasn't, it probably has about another $10 to go, which is probably around the $45 mark. Let me just pull that chart up for you so you can actually see what I'm talking about. Sorry. God, I don't have my mouse with me, so I'm using my fingers, and it just keeps getting.
That's so frustrating.
I'm in Amsterdam at the moment, so I'm working from a co-working space.
Nice.
I want to just pull this chart up for you.
Look at that run up.
Yeah.
That looks like December.
That looks exactly like Bitcoin.
Yeah,
identical.
it actually does.
Okay,
The parabolic movement.
So if we take our last high over here and pull it down to the bottom here, when I phoned you the other day, when I texted you the other day and I said to you that if we don't hold, At this level here, it's going to be disastrous.
Yeah.
Because that 161 has to hold. That is the golden rule in Fibonacci, which is why it's been sitting there. If we break through here based on this long-term chart, which is a 1-week chart, it's quite a large time frame. We start looking at going to the negatives, which I highly doubt.
Yeah.
So go back to the day, refresh once again. So for me, I think that we are going to be looking at something like this. Ultimate low sitting at 37 bucks. We mentioned about 40 bucks the other day.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much still on target. So for me, if it has to go down a little bit more, you're probably looking at about 10 bucks.
Right. Good. I got a question for you.
Yep.
So a lot of people talk about RSI and MACD and the Bollingers and all this stuff. Do you, in volume especially, how do the people see that on a chart? Because I find that a lot of people have absolutely no idea what to look for when they're even seeing RSI. Like I can see the RSI on your screen, it looks underbought for or for Litecoin right now. But how do they know what to look for, and what does even underbought and overbought mean? Just so that someone, when they say it, they go, "Oh, that I get it." Because I think most people just say it and they go, "Oh," and they don't really understand.
Right. So RSI is basically known as a relative strength index, and generally, what you look for is when it's under the 30% mark, you know that it's oversold, meaning that you're more than likely going to see a bounce at this level, which is why we're seeing this little bounce at this point over here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you go down to the bottom over here and you look at our MACD crossover, that hasn't happened yet. I don't really look at MACD too much because MACD is really, really lagged in comparison to RSI. As a matter of fact, most of these tools take historical movements and try and predict what's going to happen based on the previous chart movements.
Right.
Whereas with Fibonacci, it takes historical movements and then predicts what happens in the future based on people's psychological trends and that type of thing as well. That's why it's such a powerful tool. So when it comes to RSI, general rule of thumb, and really try and keep it simple, is as soon as you hit 60 and up, you know that the stock has been overbought and it's more than likely going to be coming down. If it comes down below 30, you know that it's been oversold and likely going to take a bounce at that point.
Like we can see that actually on this chart right here. Every time it's dipped underneath into the white, we had a bull run right there in April to May. And then we saw that again. Actually, we didn't see that again. When sometimes it doesn't actually work and coincide. Oh, a little bit there, actually.
Well, the thing is, we're looking at a daily chart. So
right, that's true.
If we move it over, let's say, to the hourly.
Mm-hmm.
So
if you bought it there,
you knew that you were going to come up either way. So whether you had your profit margin set at the next 10-20%, you knew that you were going to profit either way because you had hit the bottom of RSI.
Absolutely.
So if we pull from here to here, that's another indication of our next support levels. So you can see our next support levels over here. After we hit that $60 mark at the top here, we came down. We found some support at 55, which is a 38.2. We found support in the weak retracement zone. We bounced back up. And so if we had to come back down, we know that our next target would then be 54, 53, and 51 ultimately before heading down to that 37 as we mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm. Now, one more question is, if you see RSI where it's under 20, where you can see it on the chart and we had a nice run up, is it a good indicator for someone to buy a coin at that point when they see something like that?
When it's under?
Yeah, when it's that low. It'd be a good time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so if I don't know anything and I see this on a chart and I'm like, maybe that'll do well, is it a good gamble to put a couple $100 if you see something like that to see if it's going to go up?
You know, I'm quite a meticulous person when it comes to trading, in the sense that I don't look for one indicator.
Of course.
I look at my I look at my support, I look at the RSI. So I'll never suggest to anybody or recommend to anybody to just trade off the bottom of an RSI level. It needs to work in synergy with the other tools as well as Fibonacci.
Okay.
Elliott wave analysis as well. Is some of the traders use that. That's also a phenomenal tool as well. I just want to show you something interesting, just to give some light at the end of the tunnel.
Right. I think a lot of people need a little light in the tunnel actually right about now. I've been, I used to be a teacher and I was a lot of the time I was a counselor when I was a teacher, but I feel like lately I've become a counselor for a lot of people who are really freaking out a bit, and rightfully so a little bit. I would understand that, but yeah.
Okay. Year-end prediction for Litecoin, wrong side. If we had to bottom out at around, we said $50, or sorry, $40.
$40 potentially.
Yeah. So let's pull that down to about 40, just there. Excuse me. Look at where our high is. So usually, if we're heading to the bottom over here, our next main target is the 160, 180. So we're looking at about a total price of around 660 by that.
I would love to see it at 660 for $50. That'd be amazing.
Amazing.
It would be great. My bags wouldn't be so heavy.
Let's do the same thing for BTC.
Yeah.
Try and get a year-end prediction. I mean, a lot of guys on social media will just predict based on
nothing.
Based on that.
Yeah.
Here at least we're getting some prediction based on charting.
Well, at least it gives you some indicator, like a real indicator, not just. I think it's gonna be $1 million by 2020, or I'll eat my dick. Like, come on, it's kind of like ridiculous.
Okay, so I'm gonna pull it down to just around the 4.9 level.
Perfect.
Should we come down to the 4.9 level? I'm not certain at this point that we are, because if you look at this downtrend, it's actually been leveling out for some time now.
Yeah, it looks like it's kind of consolidating now.
Exactly.
Sort of. Yeah.
Exactly. So I mean, it's becoming less likely that we're going to hit 4.9. I would like to see 4.9 just to get that final psychological level out.
That push down there.
And that's one of the main reasons that we kept coming back down, because had we come back down all the way to the 4.9 level here, we would have probably seen some steady growth going up, and not this crazy parabolic movement followed by a silly drop. Same thing at the end of last year. I would have preferred to see a nice play out over time rather than a parabolic move straight up. What goes up must come down. And
Absolutely.
That's exactly what happened. So year-end prediction for BTC is around $30,000 mark. Not sorry. Let me correct myself. Not year-end prediction. The end of the bull run, of the next bull run. That could be 6 months, could be 8 months, could be a year.
Right.
It's really hard to try and predict time frames on any stock. If I could give any recommendations, it would be have your price points, your entry points, and your exit points, but don't put pressure on yourself based on time. It's totally unnecessary.
It's really hard to be patient for a lot of people, but it's the one thing that actually gets you where you want to be.
Patience is a form of action.
Yeah, it is. I mean, doing nothing is also doing something.
Indeed. Jay, are there any other charts that you'd like me to pull up?
I would like you to pull up ETH. I'm curious. A lot of people, because I run an ICO pool, and a lot of the companies are pretty much doing are ETH driven. Also, I want your opinion on if you think that dump was a lot of projects dumping their ETH to get what they could on the downward trend we just had.
Right.
From like the $450 down to where we are now, there's clearly like a lot of people selling, but where were they selling from? Is it manipulation, or is it just the market doing what it's supposed to do?
Well, let's have a look.
Yeah.
Let's have a look. So let's go from this low to this high to figure out what our bottom really was. And
very close to that.
Yeah. Okay. So we actually retraced past the 100% mark. You can see that a few times again at the 78.6, it found support and kept breaking through, tried to keep breaking through. One thing in Fibonacci is as soon as we break through that 78.6, it's very, very likely that the trend is going to continue. So because we had broken through the first time here, we could have expected bear movement down at the bottom here. Whereas a lot of the times, if we just touch the 78.6, we're likely to climb back up, like we're seeing up here.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it looks like natural movements in the charting, or sorry, in technical analysis across the board. But you'll see that we didn't actually touch the 127% down at the bottom here. So
Right.
obviously, a lot of people who trade off Fibonacci and understand these levels will use these levels to buy and sell.
Right.
So everybody knows that you should know at least that whenever you execute the trade, you never execute the trade at the price. You always put it just below or just above.
Yes.
So in this case, it wasn't at 227. It was just at 250, so $30 up, which is probably why we saw it bounce from there. In
Right.
terms of where it's going next, let's have a look. So we go all-time high. I don't know how to move the screen. There we go. Okay.
I think all-time high was like 1,500 or something crazy.
No, wrong. It's the wrong one. There it is there. Okay. So with regard to this last consolidation move over here, we can see that we had broken through the 161, which was the 100% on the bigger time frame.
Right.
So our next major support is at 214. I think I even mentioned that on the group the other day.
Yeah.
So worst case scenario, we're probably looking at about 214. Was it manipulative? Probably not. Ethereum hadn't been following the market trend in terms of the market correcting as much as all the other alts did. I mean, if you ever look at the percentages of all the other alts, I mean, they were bleeding in comparison to Ethereum and Bitcoin.
Right.
So that's probably why we saw this crazy drop, because it just needed to happen.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. Now here's a good question. You look at RSI; it's very low right now. It looks like it's about to go back up. Is there an indication right now that people should buy ETH? What are your suggestions on that? Obviously, you're not going to give financial advice, but if it was you right now, based off Fibonacci for educational purposes, would it be a good time to buy now, or should people wait a little longer?
I would wait a little longer, simply because of the market across the board. BTC is the front runner, always has been, and I think it always will be. If BTC supposed to come down, the rest of the market is either going to stay in the consolidation mode, or is going to come down as well. So, I mean, worst case scenario, like I mentioned, 214 at the bottom here. But until then, I think if Bitcoin does come down, I think we're just going to trade at these levels. So I wouldn't buy just yet. I would look at BTC as your main indication of whether to get into the market or not.
Right.
So if BTC does hit that rock bottom at 4.9, you know that at right across the board, you can get into most of the alts as well.
Right.
I think a lot of the alts have bottomed out already. Like Neo's rock bottom. If it does come back down, we're probably looking at about $12. So there's not much more to go. And that's about it.
So what are the coins, just before you go, what are some of the coins that you've seen are like really bottomed out that people should kind of have their eye on at this point? Just a couple. You don't have to like go all out analysis, but maybe just a few coins that you've noticed that people should be keeping their eyes out for.
So as mentioned, definitely Neo.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to pull up this thing because I've got it in front of me. Just give me a sec. I've got it written down. That's in my other book. Anyway, okay.
Yeah, another question, Yasser, while you're doing that. You had sent me like an analysis that you do. Is it possible for any of the people that watch this to sign up to get that type of analysis? Is there a membership thing that you do, or just out of curiosity?
No, not anymore. I haven't done that in a while because I just really get back into focusing on trading rather than,
for sure.
Sending signals and that type of thing. But who knows? Maybe in the future. That's not something that I'll just rule out.
I mean, if people are receptive to this and they really like what you've been doing, maybe there's an opportunity for you to teach some of them if you want to, if you have time. I don't know, maybe you don't have time.
I mean, I'm always up for helping, and just guiding people. But I don't want to be on the wrong end of the stick if things don't turn out as predicted.
Oh, for sure, yeah. And I think people understand that. Even with myself, like most people say, like, we know you're not giving financial advice, and I'm like, all right, this is what I would do personally, and people know that. So I mean, as long as you're straightforward with that from the start, no one's going to gun to your head for sure.
So TRX is another one. In terms of the other alts bottoming out. So TRX is definitely one of them. Worst case scenario, we're probably looking at about 1.1 cents. That's in the bigger time frame. NEO is another one. I actually want to pull that up so that you guys can see that. NEO USD. I love NEO.
I love NEO, man. It's great. It's one of the projects. Like, do you think NEO is going to come back to the levels it was before? Do you see it going back to $180 again?
Yeah. Listen, I mean, across the board, all of the, so again, BTC generalizes the market, one, and two, if BTC is going to run up to $30,000 by the end of the year, we're more than likely going to see all the other ones start climbing up. As a matter of fact, creating new all-time highs. So going back to bottoming out, have a look what I mean. Earlier I mentioned that 160, 180 is the golden rule
right there.
of Fibonacci. And so you can see that over here, here's at 161, it touched that bang on and has already started looking at bouncing up. Probably going to just consolidate, if not come down, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little under around $12 and shoot back up. So NEO is definitely one that if you're looking to buy, now's the time.
Yeah, awesome. All right, well, so that's been a really big pleasure. I know I've taken a bunch of your time, so I appreciate it. Yeah, definitely, this is awesome. I think everyone's going to really enjoy it, and it's really educational. Even for me, there's little things that you've done that I've picked up on that I maybe could have learned more about before. So, looking at how they use the Fibonacci is going to be so beneficial for most people. And now when they watch other people and yourself, it will be easy to see that, and that's the key point for me is, as an educator, I want people to actually learn something, and you've definitely taught a lot.
Absolutely.
Absolute pleasure. I really appreciate it. And well, maybe we can do this again, maybe in a couple weeks or something. I know one of the people that a lot of the members in our group watch is Nick Trades. I don't know if you know her. She does once a week on Monday for an hour. She does trading, talks about similar stuff to you. And she's good. Yeah. And I think that we could potentially do similar stuff like that once in a while too. I think it's beneficial for them.
For sure. Well, look, I mean, I trade on South African, so I'm from South Africa.
Yeah.
So I trade on South African times, even though I'm based in Europe.
Yep.
And so the stock market closes at about 5 p.m. Local time. So, I mean, I'm free maybe once a month. We could do something, or once a week, but we'll figure out the semantics.
That's awesome. Well, thank you very much again. I really appreciate it. I know everyone else is going to really appreciate it too. And we'll continue this journey together, man.
And light at the end of the tunnel. So
absolutely. There's definitely light at the end of the tunnel. We're almost at the bottom, guys.
We're almost at the end. Absolutely, we're almost at the end. That's for sure.
Awesome.
All right, Joe. Jay.
All right. Thanks a lot, Yasser.
No problem.
Bye-bye.